Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having a great start to your week. Big, massive potential hire coming from Ryan Day and Chip Kelly on the offensive side of the ball. Is Josh McDaniels about to join the staff? We got a little tip on that. We're going to go with that. There's a lot of stuff going on with him. And with the new unlimited cap on coaches, makes a lot of sense when a guy's been a two-time NFL head coach, coached the GOAT and Tom Brady as the offensive coordinator in New England. And now he is looking for a gig. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, adding a quarterback guru to the room. We're going to break all of that down and also take your questions. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for kicking with us each and every night. It is great being here. It's a pleasure to have you guys on along with us. We appreciate you guys. It's great to kick with you guys. Our show has been growing like crazy, so thank you for all of that. If you guys enjoy this content, please give us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Each and every night we are going live about 7 o'clock. If we adjust it, we will let you know. But the show is grinding all through the offseason into what will be the greatest season in Ohio State history with the amount of talent we have coming, the schedule, the new playoff. This is going to be absolutely bonkers. So it's a good time for you guys to join BuckeyeScoop.com, which is our home for the rest of the day. I know a lot of you guys love watching this podcast. You guys love interacting in the chat, having a great time. If you guys like this chat, BuckeyeScoop.com is like the chat 24 hours a day. So we'd love for you guys to join us on there because that page never sleeps. And I think you guys will have a great time. So as always, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. And your thoughts on adding another NFL head coach to the staff. We had a Chip Kelly. We're going to have Josh McDaniels, it looks like. If this happens, it's in kind of the final stages of negotiation. Again, anything can happen at this point. But if we add him, I think it's going to be a huge add for the program. That being said, Nevada, Josh McDaniels on top of Chip Kelly, on top of Ryan Day. That's a lot of quarterback guru-ness in one spot. I'm really excited about it. I think that there's a good shot it happens. But again, negotiations are negotiations. Things can always happen. But at this point in the game, there's a lot of jobs that have been filled from a head coaching perspective, from an OC perspective. Basically, every job in college and pro football is filled at this point. So there's some guys like Josh they like to stay in the game for a year, be an analyst for a year. You know, Mike Vrabel is likely to be an analyst at Wisconsin this year with Luke. Stay in the game, make some scratch. Obviously contribute however they can before the next hiring cycle starts. What are your thoughts on Josh McDaniels potentially joining Ohio State as a high-level analyst?
Well, if it gets done, it's just a absolutely massive add to the staff. You know, we've talked about, the changes that are coming effective June 1st, we believe, where analysts and other personnel beyond the countable 10 will be able to do on-field coaching and instruction. And, with the changes where there's unlimited coaching through the summer, the preparation that needs to be done in the quarterback room, specifically Will Howard and some of the other guys, to get a guy like Josh McDaniel, I can't state enough how big this would be if this gets done. It makes all the sense in the world, given the timing, given the fact of his availability, given his lineage, and who he's. He's a Belichick, obviously a Belichick disciple, as is. Ryan Day, as is Chip Kelly. So there's a lot of cross-pollination that's going on there. And he's available. And quarterback, coaches want to stay in the game. The worst thing you can be as a coach is completely unemployed. It's way better to be somewhere than to be nowhere. And I have a sneaking suspicion this one's going to happen. And if it does, wow. The dream offseason continues with Ryan Day. Just another, like I said, when we first got word of that, it was just in the last 24 hours, and it's still kind of blowing my mind that this could happen. But this would be an absolutely gigantic hire under any circumstances. But in a circumstance where you're trying to get ready a quarterback like Will Howard for a national championship run in the most challenging season ahead of us ever at Ohio State, and I say that without equivocation. There's nothing. We have not faced anything like this, not even remotely close, with this expanded playoff. So the challenges of 2024 are huge, but the talent and the assemblage of players and staff that they have is the best in Ohio State history, in my opinion. This would just be the icing on the cake, and would be something that would really help out as we're preparing to crowded quarterback room over the summer and into the fall. So fingers crossed it happens. But Josh McDaniels to the Buckeyes is a very distinct possibility.
Yeah, like I said, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of cronyism in sports, and obviously Bill Belichick is the guy that believes in Josh McDaniels in a big way. So does Nick Saban. Nick Saban was Josh's first employer at Michigan State when he was a lowly GA, and then obviously Bill Belichick hired him to work for the Patriots. Josh went to St. Louis and back to the Patriots. Then he went to he had that stint where he was with the Broncos, got fired after I think 2 years, and went back to the Patriots. Actually turned off going to the Indianapolis Colts, a job that he had locked in, and said no. Went to Vegas, did not work out there, and he's unemployed. And I think he's a guy that he's from Canton McKinley High School. He missed the extra point in the one or in the the 100th anniversary of the massive McKinley game. So that's something that he's kind of known for in Canton. But the McDaniels family is royalty in Ohio. His dad, Tom McDaniels, obviously coached the Canton McKinley teams that won national championships. They won one in '97. They won the national championship. '98, they won the state championship. Obviously '97. So they're back-to-back state champions. Ben McDaniels, who's his younger brother, who worked with him in Denver and also used to coach at Michigan under Harbaugh, is a guy that had been with him. I think he's still in the league right now. But I think this will be really significant. I think that again, we had Joe Philbin for a year last year. There's a lot of these kind of NFL. I don't like to call them retreads because it's kind of a denigrating term, but I think it's more like these guys that they've got a lot of knowledge. It's something where when you throw it in the petri dish of coaches for this year, I think Ryan and Chip could learn a lot from Josh McDaniels about how he did things, about how Tom Brady did things, about how Bill Belichick did things. And, if I'm Will Howard and I'm, Devin Brown and I'm Julian Sain, I'm Aaron Nolan, I'm Lincoln Keenholz, like, I think that knowing how Tom Brady conducted himself is huge. Again, Tom Brady is like liquid credibility when it comes to coaching these kids. And I think that Josh should be a good ad. And he has some very spectacular failures in the NFL as a head coach, but as a coordinator, Super Bowl champion. He's got a lot of Super Bowl rings. He's got more than everybody in that building combined. So I think he'd be a great add to what we can do as a program. Nevada, if Friday pulls this off, is this the best coaching staff in Ohio State history? You're muted, Nevada. Nevada's coming back. I think it is the best coaching staff in Ohio State history. I can't think of one that's close, and I've looked at some of the olden day staffs with Woody and Alex Gibbs going back in time. I've looked at the early Urban Meyer staffs that had Tom Herman and Vrabes and a lot of horsepower across the spectrum of the team. But I think that this is up here because I think that the thing that's different now is we pay these guys more, and these guys also get they get a lot of benefits to being analysts where they can actually coach, and they also get like I said, they get paid substantially more because of what Urban Meyer did. Nevada, is this the best staff in Ohio State history?
Yes, let me explain to you what's going on with my phone. When anybody calls me whenever I'm on this thing, it all of a sudden it mutes me, but it doesn't even show that it's muted, and I have to log off and log back on, so it's stupid. So it just I'm trying to explain to you why I have my technical difficulties. I think it's already the best staff in Ohio State history, and to add another guy who's been an NFL head coach as an analyst. This would be Ryan Day just trying to make it unfair in 2024. He's trying to make it unfair with the amount of players and his utilization of the transfer portal and his utilization of NIL to keep guys that ordinarily would have gone to the league. And now he's trying to do it. I mean, frankly, it's the Nick Saban model. I mean, it's the way that Nick Saban would do it year after year after year. And I sit there and just be so jealous when you see guys like Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian or whomever roaming around as offensive analysts or whatever. And this is what Ryan Day is doing. And with the pending changes to the legislation, these become 10x important. So they were important before, but when you could do on-field coaching and instruction, um, I mean, they're just exponentially more impactful. So, yeah, I think this definitely could be. I think it already is, but it would be a legendary staff, a legendary addition. And why not? Ryan's been rolling aces this entire offseason, so why not one more time?
And that's the thing that when people were projected that we're going to lose 7 or 8 people in the portal, I'm like, well, I mean, I hope they have good landing places. I hope that they've got something lined up. Jihad Carter hit the portal literally in the middle of our episode yesterday, and like I think that there's some coaches that they want to continue to obviously enhance their resumes. They want to continue to learn. But man, if you can jump on a team that might win a national championship and you get another ring, like what's better than that? Because again, like these analysts, they're not making $50,000. They're not making 25. Like I mean, I'm telling you, the olden days when I was a quality control coach at Ohio State in 2010, I made $24,000 working 80 hours a week. Which again, people look at that, they think it's insane, it's crazy, it's wild. But that's what it used to be because Ohio State used to be impossibly cheap. Then Urban Meyer showed up. Then also Urban's like, hey, yeah, that's over. We're going to have a big salary pool. We're going to pay our people. We're going to do whatever. And I was like, well, good. And now we're competing with the SEC. Now we're competing with the rest of the Big Ten. Ohio State, there was a point where we had the lowest paid analysts in the entire Big Ten. And again, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I'm not complaining. This isn't like, oh my God, how could they ever do whatever? But that was just the Ohio State mindset because we have, 800 varsity sports. And, so football was never a priority until Urban showed up. And Urban showed up and he said, no, now football is the monster and you guys got to feed it like it's a monster instead of feeding it like it's a Pekingese. And it all changed. And Ryan rides those waves in those coattails from Urban. And that's why these guys have this big salary pool. That's why the GAs make $200,000 a year instead of $17,000 a year, which again, I'm all in favor of. These guys deserve to get paid. These guys work hard. These guys are very valuable to the university. These guys raise a lot of money for the school when they win. So I'm happy for it. So that's how you can go get Tim Drevno as a second offensive line coach. That's how you can go get Josh McDaniels. Because again, Chip Kelly we might win the Natty. We might have the number one offense in the country. And then if Chip Kelly gets offered some crazy deal where they say, hey, we want you to be our new head coach and we're going to pay you $60 million and whatever, then when Josh McDaniels is already in the building, he might be our next OC. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's how I always look at things. Like when Joe Philbin was here last year, I didn't think he was just here to play shuffleboard for a year. Obviously, he went to the Raiders and he's with my guy Thayer Munford now. But, when you've got these analysts in here that are big names, high-powered guys, like you don't know who could get offered what. And in coaching, it's, coaching is the most fluid profession of all time. So, the way Nick Saban did it and why Nick Saban is the greatest coach who's ever lived is he always had a bullpen of guys ready to go. So if someone wants to go steal Lane Kiffin, he's already got Steve Sarkisian sitting in the building. If someone wants to go steal his line coach, he's got Doug Marrone on speed dial. So whoever would get poached, he would have a guy that he knew, that he trusted. And when the guy's in the building, there's no learning curve. Because, if Josh McDaniels is here, he's going to know Ohio State's entire offense. He's going to know, the players. He's going to know who can play. He's going to know the recruits. And again, that's the way to do it. Because, if you go outside of the people inside the Woody Hayes, you got to go teach them everything. Like Chip Kelly coming in was probably much easier because he's familiar with Ryan Day, he's familiar with the verbiage, he's familiar with the concepts, probably some of the same terms. But if Josh McDaniels is here for a year, he'll know all that stuff and he can just be promoted and run the whole show. And I think that adds a lot of chemistry to the team. It adds a lot of chemistry to the staff. And again, I think this would be a grand slam home run if we could hire Josh McDaniels to basically replace Todd Finch. And Todd Finch is the guy I think who did a good job while he was here, but nobody's ever heard of Todd Finch before. Josh McDaniels is the guy that coached Tom Brady. Guy's been a 2-time NFL head coach. That's a way different stroke as opposed to Todd Finch. And I think it'd be a huge upgrade. Nevada, any thoughts on that? We can get a couple super chats.
Yeah, no, I just think for Ryan Day's kind of trying to embrace the new era of college football, and he's obviously he knows the pressure that he's under. No matter what people think, we talked about President Carter and how President Carter is fully supportive of football, fully supportive of Ohio State athletics. Really, a guy that's kind of shares the sensibilities. Well, President Carter's made it abundantly clear to Ryan Day this year that he needs to beat Michigan. That if he doesn't beat Michigan, obviously I'm going to state the obvious. But if he doesn't beat Michigan, it's over. Like the Ryan Day experience is over. So Ryan Day realizes that. Ryan Day is sparing no effort to assemble the greatest staff, the greatest team, and to put himself in a situation to succeed in that late November game because it's all on the line for him. And sometimes when you say that, it's kind of figuratively or hey, that just really means that it's really, really important. No, I mean it really means if Ryan loses that game, that it's the end of his tenure at Ohio State. So I think hires like this is the type of hire you need to make. In the past, these would have been big hires, but in this present environment of expanded playoff, coach accountable coach or on-field coaching expanded beyond 10. These are absolutely necessary hires that you need to make to stay ahead. Those little things that differentiate you. When Saban went ahead of us, it was all these little things. It was use of medical red shirts. It was effective scheduling with that Week 11 bonanza of Marist or Liberty or whomever else they were scheduling in Week 11. It was analysts. It was roster management. I mean, it was all those things. And maybe each one of them gave a 2% edge, but when you added them up, it was a 15 or 20% edge, and it was why he won so much. And I think Ryan is embracing that. Ryan is kind of looking to fill the void that's there. There's absolutely a void in college football with Saban leaving, and I think Ohio State is stepping into that in a big way, and Ryan Day is stepping into that in a big way, and I think we're all going to be the benefactors. So great hire, certainly a forward-looking hire, and one I'm excited about.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ryan had a great vision, but Nick Saban was the GOAT. I mean, Nick Saban changed everything. He changed the gentleman agreements in recruiting. And Urban had a lot to do there. Like when Urban went to the SEC, man, it was not, hey, this kid's committed to you. Let's shake hands and we're best buddies and whatever. Urban was very cutthroat. Urban was very, that kid's committed. That's great. Well, that means that we're going to recruit him even harder now. See how committed he is to you. So Urban, I feel like Urban kind of set the tone in the SEC. He got there in 2005. Saban showed up in 2007. Then obviously, Saban took it and ran with it. And he spawned Kirby Smart. There were like probably 4 or 5 coaches from his staff that went on to lead SEC programs. But I think that, we're starting to see the light. Again, I think that Ohio State is always handicapped because we've got 36 varsity sports and most schools have like 16. So, I think that caused us to be cheap in the past. And, that is not an impediment any longer. Like now it's like, hey, we got to feed the beast, which is football. And if the beast produces, then everybody else gets to eat too. But if they don't, then nobody gets to eat. So I think that as you expand the coaching staff, it helps the development of obviously our skill guys, our quarterbacks. Josh, obviously he's coached literally some of the best players who's ever played in the game. He's coached obviously Brady. He obviously coached Devontae Adams last year as a position coach. He's won Super Bowls. And again, he was the right-hand guy of Bill Belichick. I mean, I think Josh McDaniels was the guy who Robert Kraft wanted to be the successor to Bill Belichick, but he didn't wait. He ended up going to the Raiders. It ended up in a disaster last year, but I think if he would have stayed patient for another year or 2 years, like he ends up being the new head coach of the Patriots. And now that's not the same Patriots that had Tom Brady, at the helm, the last 10 years, but I mean, that's how highly thought of he was by Robert Kraft and by Bill Belichick. But I just think with Josh, eventually he's like, well, I don't think Bill's ever going to retire, and maybe he doesn't want to. He doesn't want the smoke of being in Bill Belichick's shoes after he leaves, which I totally understand. And he went to the Vegas Raiders, and again, that was a team that was a good young team. They were kind of on the rise. They hit the side of the mountain, and Mark Davis, who's very, you know, he's very mercurial, decided to make a move on him and hire Antonio Pearson. It worked out good, but I'm excited about what Josh can do. With that being said, we'll get into some super chats. Oh, Nevada. Peyton Woodyard has entered the transfer portal from Bama already. Wow. 2024 safety in Nevada. You sent me that popped up. Peyton Woodyard is a kid that we liked a lot, and he's a kid that was a Buckeye that we thought we had a shot at. What are your thoughts on that?
Just an interesting name. I mean, interesting name. Uncle Buck had sent that to me, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "That's an interesting. I know Ohio State wanted it bad the first time around. As a freshman, obviously you've got some eligibility. You've got some years of eligibility ahead. So as crowded as our safety room looks now, not sure you can have enough quality guys like that in the Knowles defense going forward. So just wanted to send it out to you to kind of get your thoughts and see what you think and see if this is somebody that you would go after. But certainly an interesting name. I mean, the transfer portal just got a little spicier.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a South Florida Express kid, and he also he was committed to Georgia for a minute because I remember, for a hot second, this is why recruiting is hilarious to me. For a hot second, him and Dylan Loyola were like the class leaders for Georgia, and they were going to go there, and they were going to, do the thing, do the dang thing, and do what they had to do. But this is why I tell these kids, I'm like, look, go where you want to go. Don't go where someone wants you to go. Don't go where somewhere, where your friends are going. So this kid got here in January. Again, he's a 2024. So you guys go look at your desk calendar, like your cell phones. Like 2024 is this year's class. So this kid graduated, and he's literally already in the portal. So he's one of these rare kids. He's like the linebacker from Michigan who jumped in the pool at Michigan in January, and then he's already out of the pool in April. So does that bode well for Bama? I don't think so. But I think that this is a kid that, he enjoyed his time. He enjoyed his visits. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a great player. Would Ohio State be interested? I mean, maybe. I mean, we just lost Jihad Carter. So, I mean, we got room at the end for another safety. But be curious to see why he left. Again, if you could have rewound time and made my kid a 18-year-old and he got offered to play safety at Alabama last year at this time, that's where my kid would have gone. Because Alabama, now my kid's going to be way too big to be a safety, but Nick Saban is the greatest defensive backs coach in the history of football. So if he wants to take my kid and develop him, then that's why Caleb Downs went there. That's why Peyton went there. That's why Mark Barron and 1,000 other first rounders went to Alabama, because Nick Saban is the best secondary coach in the history of football. So, but now that he's gone, things change. And again, I said that about Michigan. I said, though, these guys went. The head coach leaves, the position coaches leave. Everything is for sale at that point. So Peyton's obviously hitting the portal. This will be very interesting to see if Ohio State dips in, because we were in on this kid. But he went to Georgia, and then he flipped to Bama. So we're just going to see if we get in on him again. But the hard part is he might not have liked where he was at the depth chart. You come to Ohio State, man, we've got the best safety depth chart we've ever had in school history. So I don't think he's going to climb up those ranks, but it'll be very interesting. Yeah, I mean, Nevada, would he be worth chasing to you? Good.
Well, one other point on that, just remember with the SEC rule, he can't transfer to another SEC school. So that precludes him from going to a Georgia or somebody else like that. So, who knows? It'd be interesting. Just interesting name. Got a blast from the recent past, and somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I absolutely and totally agree. Well, we can get into some of these super chats. The Blues is here every night. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 5. Your logical Wolverine, watching some of Marv's highlights the other day. Crazy talented. Do you think Jeremiah Smith has the potential to even exceed him? I do. I think Jeremiah could be better than Marvin. I think he's more physical than Marvin. Um, he's further along the track than Marvin was at the same age. Again, when Marvin showed up as a freshman, I mean, we heard rumors about him. We talked about him, but he didn't really produce until that bowl game where he went ballistic and had 3 touchdowns. But JJ is going to be a factor in the offense the first game of the season. Akron better be game planning for him. I think JJ is going to start as a true freshman just to make a statement in recruiting for Brian Hartline and Ryan Day. I think he'll beat out Brandon Ennis as the third receiver behind Carnell Tate and Emeka Buka. And I think he'll be better than Marvin. I think when we look back in 3 years, like I think JJ, I don't know if he'll get drafted as high as Marvin, but if he stays healthy, he could be better than Marvin Harrison because I think that's his mentality, that's his work ethic, that's his physical traits. I can't be higher on a player in the history of the world than I am Jeremiah just because he's all football all the time. And I think he's going to be an absolute monster. Nevada, what are your thoughts? The Blues asked, watching some of Marvin's highlights the other day, crazy and talented. Do you think J.J. Smith has the potential to even exceed him?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. And and as crazy as that sounds, you made the great point about where was Marvin at this stage in development. Marvin, we were on him. We were talking about how strong he was and how great he was, but it was really about waiting your turn. Olave and Wilson skipped down the Rose Bowl. He went out there and caught 3 touchdown passes. But I mean, JJ may catch 3 touchdown passes his first game. So JJ is certainly advanced. JJ's faster. I mean, he's bigger and he's faster. So and he's stronger. So if you ask me, gun to my head, who's going to turn out to have been a more productive wide receiver in college? And I'm going with JJ. I've never seen anything like it, and I've never seen a kid hit campus, especially in a time when Ohio State football is not down. I mean, this is the double platinum years of Ohio State football, and this kid is walking in right from the high school and stepping right into a starting job, and that's certainly crazy. This isn't a clown show of a wide receiver room like Urban Meyer famously coined when he took over. This is a deep wide receiver room, and he's going to come in and start day one. So, yep, I'd have to go with JJ.
Yeah, I mean, and this will be blasphemy, and I'm going to get lit up for this, but to me, like, if you're comparing them to basketball players, like, Marvin is probably like Jordan, but JJ is like LeBron. And I know the old heads are going to get all upset and say Jordan's better, and I think Jordan played harder, and I like Jordan better than LeBron. But, LeBron was the number one player in high school from the time he was a sophomore. He was the kid that everyone wanted to tank the draft for. And he was he was, if they had draft odds on him going number one in the draft the year the Cavs had it, it would have been minus 100 million probably. So Jordan is like Marvin, where Marvin was the guy that obviously people love, think he's great, but I mean, Jordan was the third pick in his draft, his own draft with Olajuwon and Bowie. So JJ again was the number one pick. He was the number one player in his entire class. He's a 5-star kid. Surpassed Dylan Raiola, who's what at the time was the highest rated kid. He obviously he slumped a little bit his senior year. Marvin wasn't that. Again, I know that On3 likes to get cute, and On3 like redid the ratings at the end of as the buzzer went off. They made Marvin a 5-star at the end of the buzzer, but I mean all the other ratings had him as a 4-star. So Marvin coming out of high school, and again, I thought that was crazy because I talked to Anthony Gonzalez, who played with Marvin Sr., and Gonzo thought that he was going to be that Marvin Jr. is going to be crazy good. And I was like, well, why is he only a 4-star? Why isn't he the number one player? I mean, Marvin. I mean, there were receivers in the recruiting class that were rated ahead of Marvin. I think Emeka was rated ahead of Marvin. I think G. Scott was rated ahead of Marvin. So it was interesting. And again, G may or may not have been in the same class, but I know Emeka was ahead of Marvin in most recruiting rankings. And Marvin, you look back, he's the 4th pick in the draft. Obviously, he should have been the number one kid in this class, but. I'll go pull up the rankings in a second, and it wasn't that clear cut. Even though he had Kyle McCord, he had a superstar quarterback throwing him the ball. His obviously, he was playing in a decent league in Philly, not a great league, but a decent league. But a lot of the evaluators didn't have him as a big time kid, as a 5-star. And I don't think our fan base was really that excited about him when he got here. But JJ is the opposite. JJ is the guy that there's no hiding JJ, and I think he could end up being better. Crocs and Black Sox, thank you for the 5. Fellow OSU alum near, much love from Los Angeles, California. Go Bucks. LA is a great part of the country. Check out Arthur J's if you get down to Manhattan Beach. Nevada, Crocs and Black Sox, says fellow OSU alum. Much love from Los Angeles, California. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of Buckeyes. There's a lot of Buckeyes everywhere, but certainly a lot of Buckeyes on the West Coast. And I think those Rose Bowls all those years where it was sunny and it was all cold and back in Ohio, and everybody's like, I'm moving out. I'm moving out to California, like the Beverly Hillbillies. We all moved out to California, and yeah, a lot of Ohio State fans out here. So put in your chat what part of LA. Obviously, LA is a big part, but what part of LA do you live in? Check it out and let me know.
Nevada, what is the best part of LA to live in?
Manhattan Beach. I mean, there's really
by far
one answer to that, but
there's only one answer.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Highlander. There's only one.
Yeah. No, I want you to know. I watched Fallout too. I watched the first 2 episodes of Fallout.
Oh God, you gotta crap on the highest rated show in Amazon history.
I'm really having trouble getting into it. Does it get better?
That's fine.
I mean, the first.
No, it stinks. Everyone in the world liked it except you. So
well, I'm asking. The first 2 episodes with the ghoul and Lucy and all, does it get better?
No, it gets worse. It's actually way worse. So I would just quit and I'd go back to watching Gold Rush Alaska. Honestly,
I do like Gold Rush Alaska. You know, I do like that.
It's the highest rated show in the history of Amazon Prime, which has made billions of dollars.
That means nothing. RuPaul's drag show is like a really highest rated show, and
it's not. It's not in the same realm as Fallout.
No, I'm just telling you.
Oh my God! Just because you're a hater, it's fine.
You and your obscure shows. Hey, Lucy, she's sleeping with her cousin. Ooh,
my obscure shows.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Don't be dragging on Gold Rush, man. They found a 5.9 ounce nugget, man. That was a big old nugget. $70,000 nugget.
I can't believe that you're dogging out Fallout right now.
No, I was asking because the first 2 episodes were
it's terrible.
Okay,
it's
okay.
It's 65 billion viewers in the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
we should make it 64,999,999.
No, I watched it. I watched it. Yeah, I watched. They lost.
Oh God!
I'm just hoping it just gets better because
the only show that had a bigger debut was their Lord of the Rings show that they had. That cost them $1 billion to make. So. It's the most watched show ever among adults 18 to 34, which I know that's way young for you.
Yeah,
so I apologize.
I was gonna say a lot of gamers, a lot of funky.
Oh my God, 94% approval rating too. 94% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So you're the six. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a T-shirt that says you are the 6%er. I'm like Nevadabuck. Yeah. I am in the 6%. 94% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
what is that?
The be all end all. That means that you're a hater and I have impeccable taste. That means I have the pulse of the people and you're a hater. Oh, yeah. That's what it means. Yeah. Look at that right at the top. 94% critical approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's like as high as any show in the history of the world. So you and your dogs spamming the dislike button to get that 6% up. It's probably 100 before you started hating on it, but hey, I'm gonna
start a campaign to get that thing down.
It'll be 90% tomorrow. You're gonna get your minions on it.
You watch, man. I'm gonna get my Macedonian bot farm to start hitting on this thing, man.
You should. I would do that too.
I have.
Hey, as long as you build a website where you can't search by the name and by you can't search at all, that's the perfect message board. You know that.
Can't be done.
I would literally just say, hey, Come clean with me and it'll be okay, Nevada. Come clean with me.
Leave.
Come clean with me. It'll be
Leave.
okay.
Oh,
All right.
God.
Mello 7 next to the 5. I heard there were a lot of kids in the 24 class that wanted release from NIL, but Bama wouldn't let them. He probably won't be the last one. Well, in the words of Boys to Men, let's not wait till the water runs dry. It'll be the biggest mistake of our lives. And that's where a lot of these NIL funds are at, man. A lot of these NIL funds, just like they're scraping that bucket, man. That well is real dry. And I think some of these kids are like, hey, these guys all got Hemis and Hellcats and Scat Cats. And where's my Hellcat? And like, oh, sorry, you're too young. The times have changed. And when there's a coaching change, man, things change. Again, I can't imagine that there is the same level of excitement around the University of Alabama as opposed to a year ago with Nick Saban, with the program they had coming back. I mean, with this new guy, can he navigate the South? I don't know. I mean, this guy, like in like 19, was the offensive coordinator at Indiana, the Hoosiers, big bad Hoosiers. So, is he ready to go toe to toe with the Elephant Club and the monsters in the South like Kirby Smart? I don't know. But it sounds like the old well's running dry, and that might mean Barry Bryant Jr. doesn't want to cut a check anymore because Barry Bryant Jr. got a lot of influence, a lot of money down there, and if the well is running dry, then I think that is a Alabama problem. And you know who that's great for? Ryan Day and Ohio State. So I love it. It's great. I love that Bama's struggling. I hope they go back to the 05 level. Like again, I always talk about when I played, Alabama was like Michigan State. Nobody cared about them. They were never a problem, and they were always out of sight, out of mind. And then Saban shows up. They're awesome. They turn into the juggernaut, and now they're back to being Michigan State again. So that's where they're headed, and I think that kids are figuring that out. That's why kids like Caleb Downs and Julian Saint are dipping out because they aren't buying what the current staff is selling. Nevada, your thoughts, Mello. Appreciate you, Mello, as always. Said he heard a lot of the kids from the 24 class wanted to release from the NIL, but Bama would let him, and that Peyton Woodyard probably won't be the last one.
Yeah, I just look. This is why replacing a legend like Nick Saban. A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people, because you're always going to be suffered by comparison. You're always going to step in, and people are going to say, "Well, Nick didn't do it this way, or Nick would have done it that way, or this would have been different." And I think the current staff is in an impossible spot. I would bet that they'll all be gone within 3 years, just because that's the way that this stuff goes. I mean, it's very, very rare to be able to roll from legendary coach to legendary coach to legendary coach. I mean, Ohio State really was lucky when they went essentially back to back with Tressel and Urban Meyer with a little 1 year Luke Fickell interlude. But it's hard. It's hard to replace them, and as a non-Southerner to do it, it's really, really hard because they are not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. The culture wars are real, and I think it's going to be a big challenge for him to figure out how to push the buttons. And if he doesn't win big right off the bat, and I'm talking about big, because anything short of national championship game or national championship in Alabama is considered a down year. Almost an impossible standard. And I think he's being set up to fail, and I think he will fail.
I just got breaking news. Peyton Woodyard is heading to Oregon. So that is not public yet, but that is coming. And what do you think Oregon has that makes kids in the NIL go to Oregon? I'm just curious about it.
Phil Knight's money. That's what they have. They have a lot of money. And Oregon's NIL program is good and active as anybody. They were super active in the portal this year. That's why when they lost so many dudes in the NFL draft, they were able to get a lot of talent in that portal because they've got virtually no recruiting base up there at zero. But what they've got is they've got Uncle Phil's money. They've got Nike facilities, and they do a nice job. And they're going to be a formidable add to the Big Ten, and going to be a great matchup every year, and we're going to see them probably twice this year, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and again, people that are dumb and don't understand college football and don't understand how to run businesses and are doing 2 for Tuesday, they think that Oregon's NIL doesn't really matter. But magically, when they get Dylan Gabriel and then they get a really good quarterback behind him from UCLA to show up. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the NIL program that they run. They're very formidable. Phil Knight's 85 years old. He's got a fortune. He doesn't care at this point because he would give anything for Oregon to win a national championship while he's alive, and he's at the age where he's not really buying green bananas too often. So again, Peyton said in there, if kids hit the portal and they go to Oregon, nothing surprises me. We lost out on Cornelius, who was the right tackle they started last year, did a really good job because they paid him more. So again, I think Oregon is a sleeping giant, but I still think that we're better because we've got a better brand, we've got a better staff, and I think that our NIL is just as strong. Oregon is a one man, one trick pony. Ohio State's much deeper in the NIL program. And Jerry McStevens, thank you for the 5. Did we miss out on Ewers? And would we have won the Natty with him last year? Yeah. I mean, did you watch Quinn last year? Quinn made it to the playoffs with a good supporting cast, but it wasn't to the level of Ohio State. And the biggest difference between Texas last year and Ohio State last year is Texas's secondary was just atrocious. I mean, they were an absolute sieve. They were giving up. They were like they were just awful. And so Washington scorched him with Penix. I think if Quinn has Marvin and Emeka and Trey, that outweighs even what he had at Texas, even with Xavier Worthy and Donovan Mitchell and the guys he had and that tight end who got drafted ahead of Cade. I still think Ohio State they have an easier schedule. They've got better supporting casts. I easily think we're the national championship with Quinn Ewers. Again, with Kyle McCord, who stunk and is at Syracuse, we were throwing at the end zone to beat Michigan. And Kyle's a kid, again, in my eyes, I thought he was exceptionally poor as a quarterback at Ohio State. And then he hit the portal. And again, you guys can say Kirk's a hater and big meanie, whatever. But like when he hit the portal, he went to a team that lost 45-0 in their bowl game. So that was the team that took him. Not Texas, not Georgia, not SC, not Michigan, not any formidable opponent. He went to a terrible program. So we almost beat Michigan with that at quarterback. So imagine what we do with Quinn, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft next year. I think we do great. But Ryan knew what he had in that room when he went after Drake May at this time last year. He went after Drake May hard. Mac Brown rebutted him, and magically, we were stuck with Kyle McCord as our quarterback. But Ryan knew he had the red alarm going where he's like, we got to get a new quarterback here. We got to get a difference maker quarterback, because when we don't have a difference maker quarterback, it kills any chance that we have of winning anything major at Ohio State or in college football. But obviously, Drake stayed at North Carolina, went third overall in the draft. Kyle hit the portal. Nobody wanted him. Nebraska didn't want him. Syracuse ends up taking him. It'll be a disaster up there for him. Probably won't get drafted next year. And that's the guy that was a miss by Ryan in the recruiting circuit. So, Nevada, your thoughts? Did we miss out on Quinn Ewers, and would we want a natty with him last year?
Yeah, I mean, clearly last year would have been different, but I think your one point was really, I think people forget about this a lot. We were thrown into the end zone to win up in Ann Arbor, which is a really tough place to play. We win that game, we're the number 1 seed going in the playoffs, and everything's different. So we were close. We were really, really close to being right there, and we were doing that, with quarterback play. And specifically, I think the thing about Kyle's game that was frustrating, I thought he was an okay thrower. He was an adequate thrower, but I thought his complete lack of pocket presence and his inability to present any type of running threat from the quarterback position just really hamstrung it. If you're going to be that guy, you better be C.J. Stroud. You better be a guy that's just got a golden arm, NFL MVP kind of talent, and he doesn't. So, we really struggled offensively from that standpoint. You look at our offensive stats, they went way down last year, and I just think having a transcendent talent like Quinn would have made a difference. But he's gone. He'll be Texas. We may see him this year in the playoff, and that'll be a great matchup. Quinn's a great kid, and I'd love to see another Quinn Will Howard game head to head with Ohio State talent going up against Texas talent. That's gonna be a heck of a ball game.
Yeah, I think it's destiny. I think it's gonna happen, and better eat your Wheaties. We'll be ready to roll. Uh, Jerry McStevens again. Thanks for the deuce. Would we have beaten that team in North without all three times without Connor Stallions? I think so. I mean, I think that especially the first two times when they knew it was coming, and we had C.J. Stroud, who's the favorite to win the NFL MVP this year. So yeah, I think we beat them all three times without Stallions. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I think that Connor Stallions. I mean, like his plot saved Michigan football. I mean, they were so bad that they were throwing games, or they were avoiding games by claiming they had a COVID outbreak, and which we all know was bogus. They wanted to save themselves a beating, and they went from that to juggernaut by cheating. And the big question is, was it worth it? And we had one of our posters, Ohio State poster, said he would trade 10 years of mediocrity going forward for just one national championship. And I'm like, why on earth would you do that? Like, the expected value for Ohio State, we're a contender every year. We've got a chance. We've got a chip and a share every year. The idea that I would win one and then for 10 years have to go without college, being irrelevant, there's no way that's a good bargain. And for Michigan, that's kind of the bargain that they made. They made a deal with the devil. You've already seen the impact. You've got guys portaling left and right. You've got recruits leaving. You've got the worst recruiting class in the Big Ten right now, coming off a national championship year. You've got a coach exodus, and it's all happening. And this is all before the hammer of the NCAA falls. So, yeah, bad times ahead for Michigan. Um, for some people, they think it's worth it. I'm telling you, it was a bad bargain for sure, and not a good deal.
Totally agree. Jerry McStevens again. Is Cam Ward better than Will Howard, and why didn't we get him? I like Will Howard better. I like the big bodies better, especially when it's cold, wintry, Big Ten weather. Cam Ward, I think, is a good player, but he entered the draft and rescinded. Went to the Hurricanes. Didn't really get anything from the Hurricanes. But he probably would have been a seventh round pick or undrafted. I think Will Howard has much more upside. And that's who Ryan Day wanted. Nevada, your thoughts? Is Cam Ward better than Will Howard?
No, no. And the the people that I go to for that evaluation are Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day. And I think Will Howard could be a high draft pick in the draft next year. And I'm basing that just strictly on the fact that Bo Nix can go 12. You cannot tell me that Will Howard can't be Bo Nix. I refuse to believe that, because Bo Nix was terrible at Auburn. Went on to Oregon, playing with a better scheme, playing with better players, and put up some impressive numbers. But Bo Nix was not better. I mean, Will Howard was better by every metric at Kansas State than Bo Nix was at Auburn. And I think Will Howard's going to have a monster year at Ohio State. And given the fact that J.J. McCarthy went as high as he did, you can't tell me that Will Howard doesn't have a chance to go high. I think he has a chance, and I think he will.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's one of those things where people, there's always these guys that become the flavor of the week, day, month in the NFL draft, and Will Howard in the right system could get developed in a hurry. I mean, you got to remember Trey Lance went ahead of Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields got a very raw deal. I think if Justin Fields was drafted by the 49ers, he'd be a perennial Pro Bowler right now if he had the right supporting cast. But he went to a bad organization, one that I frankly got drafted by. And if Justin Fields was starting for the Bears this year with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and imagine they draft Marvin Harrison number one overall. Like, he's probably the favorite to win the MVP with those weapons. Cole Kmet, good line, DeAndre Swift. Like, I mean, they went ballistic to make Caleb Williams comfortable and give him probably the best supporting cast in the entire NFL. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that. Jeremy sees again. Score of the Natty if Fields made a TD play in 2019. Oh God, I don't know. If we beat Clemson, Nevada. Shoot, I don't. Here's the thing. I'm a realist, and you guys are gonna hate me for that. But if the 19 Ohio State team, which was the best team Ryan Day's ever had, played that 19 LSU team, I don't know if we can beat them. and again, you can call me a hater, but you go look at what that team had. They had Justin Jefferson, they had Chase, and I know that we had Okuda, and I know we had Sean Wade and whatever, but that was a real team. And that was one of the best. That might be the best college football team of all time. It would have been high scoring, say 55-45 or something like that. But your thoughts, Nevada, Ohio State, LSU in 19, if we beat Clemson on when Olave ran the wrong route?
I got LSU 42-35. I think it would have been a shootout for sure. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think anybody was beating LSU at the end of the year. I think they were at a different level. And but hey, we'd had a chip and a chair. We'd have a shot, but I'd give the edge to LSU for sure.
Yeah, and again, it's not being a homer, but like, who's their quarterback? Joe Burrow, first overall pick, $250 million extension, or probably more than that. Probably five. He's like Mahomes territory, $500 million deal. Chase and Jefferson, probably the two highest paid receivers in the NFL when they get their second deals done. That's a loaded team. That's a different level. And again, not every year that when the national championship is created equal. There's some years where you might squeak past some teams that aren't really that good. Like that Georgia team that we lost to last year when we missed a field goal. That wasn't a great national championship. It was Stetson Bennett and Ladd McConkey. That's not the same as beating that LSU team. That LSU team was a serious team. But again, that's just us being realistic, and we appreciate you guys. Karis Washington, thank you for the 5. I wish it was fall. This is going to be a team for the ages. Nevada OH.
Well,
the good thing is when we podcast every single day, talk about Ohio State football, I can't tell what season it is. I know it's a little bit hotter now, and I can go outside and get a little bit of a suntan, but it's always fall on BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm excited about it. Again, Karis, I know you guys, your family is excited about it. This is going to be a great year. This is a year that you better savor, and Ryan Day better tee it up, because this is a year he's got to cash this one in. This is going to be a huge year for him, the program, for everybody. And I think he's got it in his blood. Nevada, your thoughts on the 2024 Ohio State Buckeyes?
No, I'm with you. I'm going to savor every moment. I'm going to enjoy every aspect of it. I'm not going to fast forward in my brain looking forward to anything. I'm going to watch every minute of every play, because this is going to be a special year. And like I said, the good news sometimes in life, you don't realize things are special until they're over, and then you're like, wow, that went too fast. But the good news, we know what's going to be coming, and as a fan, we can really enjoy this year and enjoy it for what it's going to be. But yeah, it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the fall. But the offseason has been flying by, so it's going to be fall before you know it.
Totally agree. Mello, what is up, brother? I appreciate you. Thanks for the 5. That was the word on the Bama boards after Saban retired. They were all trying to jump ship. Well, I think that part of it was NIL, but I think a bigger part of it is a lot of these guys don't like their coaches. They don't like their new coaches. They don't like, again, like Nick Saban, the guys that recruited him. When Nick Saban retired, man, you could take a fire hose and turn that thing all the way back, and everybody gets cleaned out. Everyone's gone. There's one guy that retains. Strength staff's all new. So a lot of these guys, they committed to something that they don't even know anymore. I mean, other than their T-shirt and their workout shorts say Bama, they don't know anything about it. And I think that these guys are kind of obsessed with the player, or with the coaches and the development. And I'm telling you, if I'm a defensive player, there's no way in the universe I'm letting these guys from Washington develop me, given how terrible they run defense the last 2 games of the year against Texas and Michigan. But that's just my opinion. I think it's more of a coaching change, position coach, dissension, especially with the early enrollees. They showed up expecting Nick Saban. Nick Saban kind of glad, especially, dude, if I'm a safety and I commit to Nick Saban, and I think I'm going to be developed by the greatest coach who's ever lived to coach the back end of the defense, and he's gone, and I've got a bunch of guys that I don't know, I don't trust. They gave up 7,000 points their last 2 games. Like, I'm good. I'm going to go to my number 2 that's locked in, and Peyton Woodard's going to end up at Oregon with Spencer Lanning and his staff, and it'll be all the coaches that recruited him the whole cycle. They're all still there, and he'll land there, and he'll be happy as a lark, and He'll be in the Oregon lime green workout shorts on Monday, and kind of away we go. But I think NIL is a part of it. I just think that like the lack of trust in the new coaching staff is a much bigger part. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you got recruited by one guy, and one set of circumstances is like you're expecting to go out to dinner with Jessica Alba, and you end up with Phyllis Diller or something like that. You're disappointed, and I think for these guys, I mean, Nick Saban is the greatest of all time. I mean, he literally is a legendary coach, certainly a legendary defensive coach, and as a player on that side of the ball, you've got to be going, what am I doing? This would have changed everything had I known this was going to go down. Remember, a lot of people in Alabama were caught off guard. Even the administration was caught off guard by the suddenness of the resignation. So certainly the players were. And I just think there's a lot of disappointment, a lot of disenchantment, but they're not even close to being done. Because wait till the fan base turns on Kalen. That's going to happen, um, and right soon. They just this you can see that how the story ends,
Oh yeah.
and it has nothing to do with DeBoer being a bad coach or a bad
Nope.
person or bad. He has zero chance to succeed at Alabama. I would take Book on that, and yeah, I think the over under is 3 years, and he'll be gone, and they'll be on to the next coach. But I just don't think he has any chance to succeed.
I just thought it was a stupid hire because he hasn't been in the South. I mean, again, like 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know if it was 19 or 20, he was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. And he could have walked, into any establishment that I've ever been in and walked across the room. I would have had no idea who he was. So Nick Saban was Mick Jagger, a guy that everybody knew who he was, a guy that was ultra talented. And you replace him with a guy who obviously had a good year last year, got blown out in the championship game. Bama couldn't get, obviously they're not going to get Kirby from Georgia. Dabo has got a bunch of warts on him now, but I'd have gone after Sarkisian, guys that have been in Bama, guys that know the South, guys that are a little bit more slimy, could recruit more to their standard. But I think it'll be stunning if he makes it. Because again, kids are jumping ship. Caleb Downs, Julian Sayin, Peyton Woodyard, a lot of these guys, they're not buying what he's selling. And that tells me all I need to know. Because again, when I say this stuff, it's not me being a hater. It's more about me just evaluating the entire circumstance and really trying to figure out, what's the direction of that program. And again, I think Alabama is going to be in a tailspin, and it's going to go back to the old Alabama of the mid 2000s when they were completely irrelevant. ZCM, thank you for the 5, or excuse me, thank you for the 10. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. What touchdown/rushing yards do you think Julian Howard needs to eclipse to be a national championship quarterback this year? And how does Beck Nevis sound for Beck Nevis? So that's like Nevada Buck. Beck Nevis sound for Nevadabuck's villain name. Or do you two have something better? Well, there's nothing better than Burke Carton. I'm just going to say that because Burke Carton is the strongest villain name in the history of mankind. God, what would be a good Nevadabuck villain name? You guys got to put that in the chat. And if you guys are listening to this on a tape, put that in the comments. Let me think on that. Touchdowns, I think if it's total touchdowns, 45 total touchdowns, rushing yards, 600, we win the national championship. Nevada, what stat line? And I'm combining rushing and passing touchdowns for him. I'm saying 45. It might actually be 50 if we run 16, 17 games. It's 3 a game, roughly 3 a game, a little bit 3 and change a game. Let's go 50 on that. Make a nice even number, and 700 rushing yards. Nevada, your thoughts? What touchdowns, combined touchdowns and rushing yards, do you think that Will Howard needs to eclipse to be a national championship quarterback this year? And then does Beck Nevis sound like a great villain name for you?
Yeah, well, I think the numbers will be down a little bit because I think Ohio State's going to rotate the quarterbacks more than they ever have before, especially, if you've got Julian Sayin and you really want to play him as much as I think they're going to want to play him. So I'd probably say maybe 40 to 45 and maybe 300 to 400 rushing yards. You also got to remember in college, I think sacks come off rushing yard totals. So probably on that. As for villain name, look, I don't think there's any better villain name out there than Nevadabuck, because if you ask some of these other websites, Nevadabuck is like the super villain, and so I think that I've already got kind of a good villain name. Um, I've got Burt Carton, which is kind of my check-in at a hotel name, so that people can't find me when I'm checking into a hotel. But I'd have to think. I mean, I like Nevadabuck. I think
I like
Nevadabuck.
Nevadabuck too. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Nevadabuck's good.
Yeah, that's a super villain name, man. Just out, it's like I'm like the boogeyman. I'm like the Baba Yaga to these other sites.
Oh
So
my God.
there's no
They
doubt
do,
about that.
they do sweat you now. They sweat
Oh,
you.
big time.
I'm telling you, those guys, if they want to have a big trending topic on their message boards, talk about Nevada, talk about Buckeye Scoop. It's the number one topic on every
Yeah,
message board every single
yeah,
time. It's
that's
like,
true.
I mean, it's like, was it wildfire? What was the green fire that was on Game of Thrones that blew up the you
Oh
know
yeah,
the
yeah,
yeah that's what we are. Like it
yeah.
blew up the big battle that Tywin Lannister won. It blew up the big hall that killed the Sparrow and all those morons that Cersei used to kill everybody. That's what Buckeye Scoop. That's what Nevadabuck is. If you throw that down, it's like wildfire, and it just blows the whole building up. It blows up every message board. You know, the people that go against us get scared and nervous because they usually get stomped into a mud hole. So, you know, again, I think Nevadabuck's the perfect thing. I wouldn't even try to be creative and say Beck Davis. I just say Nevadabuck.
Right.
And people
Exactly.
say, is that like ISIS? Is it like, you know, the James Bond villains? Like from the last couple of James Bond, the Daniel Craig James Bond movies? Like, is it some of those guys that are Ellipsis? You know, like Ellipsis was like the one big James Bond villain at one of the last. I mean, that's what Nevadabuck is. And I'm telling you, man, if you
This is
want to
true.
really, if you want to scare people, especially in our realm, talk about Nevadabuck because people get shook. And honestly, it's delicious. It's the greatest thing in the world, and it makes us so happy that they're always so shook. Pooh 12, thanks for being an ultra member. Thanks for the 5. One football and one non-football question. Number 1, Nevada NAFSU/ACC updates. Number 2, would you rather fight 30 Cujo? Pooh Beard, you're killing it right now. You're killing the game. Would you rather fight 30 Cujo size Burke cartons or one Burke size Cujo? So that's 30 Kirk Bartons that are the size of a raccoon, a little tiny raccoon, or one giant raccoon who's as big as me. That is a great question. Nevada OH.
I
Nevada, I'm going to let you start with the FSU ACC updates. Are there any updates?
No, just they've been sent to mediation. There's an ongoing negotiation going on that's being watched by not only Florida State but by a number of member schools. Um, I mean, it's happening. The ACC is gonzo. They're going to cease to exist as a conference here very very shortly. It's all going to happen at once, a little at first, and then all at once, and it's going to be a free for all. But no, the ongoing situation right now. The ACC is trying to avoid discovery because there's a lot of stuff in there that that's not favorable to their case involving their commissioner, their negotiations with ESPN, and Florida State's going to get out, and it's not going to be for the number's not going to be nearly as big as people thought either. So once they get out, everybody's going to get out, and then buckle up.
All right, now the real part of the question, the second part of the question, Nevada. Would you rather fight 30 Cujo size Burke cartons, which is like 30 raccoon size versions of me, or one gargantuan size raccoon, one Burke size raccoon named Cujo?
I'd
That
rather
is
fight
that.
the I'd rather fight the big one. The little ones, man. I could just like hit you with like a broom or something like that and just knock you to the side.
You'd rather fight the one big one?
Yeah,
Are you
I
talking about
would.
for survival or just for the challenge? Let's be
Either
real
one,
here.
either one. If I had like
Oh
a
my
rage
God.
or something like that, I'd just be knocking those little Kirk Bartons all over the place, man.
Well, yeah, like
That'd be
it
kind of
depends
fun.
on is it about the challenge or is it about survival? Because one
Well,
giant, big
I'm
300-pound
assuming this
raccoon
is
coming after
survival.
you.
this is survival, man.
Yeah, well, dude,
I'm
one giant raccoon as big as me is gonna kill you easy. Because I mean, you'll
yeah,
get distracted and you won't like fall out, and then it'll just eat you alive. And then I'll have to do the show by
yeah.
myself, and that'll suck.
Oh, poor
We'll have to
Lucy.
have you laying there dying, and we'll have to have your alter alias Funky come on here. When you're on your
Yeah.
AI voice, and
AI,
nobody wants
AI
that.
voice key.
AI voice
Yeah.
Funky. Shout out Funky. He hit the silencer when he won his race, so shout out to you, Funky. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, he did.
I'm fighting 30 little ones easy.
Oh, no way.
Because like 30 little ones you could kick and punt and
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you
I'm
can.
sorry. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Exactly. Yeah. 30
So you want
little
to fight
ones.
30 little Kirk Bartons running around instead of one 300-pound giant raccoon. I mean, you want to fight the little ones, right? Because you can just kick them all over the lot. That wouldn't even be a challenge. You pour a little bit of beer on the ground and they'll start drinking it and they'll just fall over and die. You don't have to do anything. That'd be easy money. Nevada has I think his phone might have blown up because that was such a great question. Pooh Beard, I appreciate you, bro. That's a great question. Did the giant 300-pound raccoon eat your phone and kick you offline there for a second?
No, I actually hit it with my thumb and hit the hang up button right there. So
you're so excited to fight three little tiny Kirk Bartons walk around that you could punt and kick all over the place. And
no, I was watching Instagram reels on Fallout and watching that. So I got
you're just like,
distracted.
wow, it's the most popular show in the world. Everyone in the world minus Nevada, who's not hip. I don't care. It's my favorite video game of all time, so I don't care. You could be a hater. God. I'm gonna go play it as soon as I get done editing the show. Devin, what's up, brother? Ohio 7715. Appreciate you. Akeem and Kim, the Wrench Trio. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being an ultra member. What's up, fellas? Best chat in the land. Fam in the chat. Y'all think Knowles dies up pressure this year with our backfield being solid? Yes, I think they're gonna crush it this year. What brings the jack position in? Hopefully nothing, because it's been terrible when we've ran it. Any news on portal players we're in on? I don't think there's any right now. I mean, the portal is a barren wasteland of guys that aren't really that good. So I don't think we're going after anybody right now. Things could change if some big star jumps in. But if guys haven't jumped in yet, I just can't see them doing it. Just because, there's no benefit to waiting to jump in the portal. If I were to jump in, I'd jump in the first day. I'd have my home. I'd be there squared up, moving in. Right now, a lot of schools that are on semesters are on kind of that Maymester break where they don't, like Ohio State football, for instance, the players are off for 3 straight weeks right now. 3 weeks. I've never heard of that before, but they're off for 3 weeks. So if you're ever going to transfer somewhere, this is the time where you can go get your apartment, get your stuff moved in, get familiar with the area, get a few workouts in, whatever. But I don't really see that. So that's just my opinion. Nevada with Devin. Devin says, what's up, fellas? He says, best chat in the land, best family in the chat. Do you think, Nevada, that Jim Knowles dials up the pressure this year with our defensive backfield being solid? Do you think that he brings in the jack position? And is there any news on portal players? Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, he's Knowles has basically made a realization that and every year you've kind of seen it as he went along. The first year he talked about some of the chances they had to take with his team, and last year I think he was a little bit more conservative. I think this year is going to be kind of an amalgam of the first 2 years. But he also, he made an interesting comment about how he's a big fan of simulated pressure, about lining up guys on line and not knowing where the four is going to come from, but that he realized in his postseason analysis that when you only line up or when you only bring four, that eventually it's like the boy that cried wolf, that sometimes you have to bring the house, and that, if you don't do that at least occasionally, they stop respecting it, and and there's things that the offenses can do to adjust. So I think you're going to see more blitz pressure this year for sure, certainly more so than last year, and I think you're going to see him go away from just simulated pressure, where you're going to see some stuff where they bring it, because as you noted, and rightfully so, he trusts the secondary implicitly. This is a great secondary, perhaps a legendary secondary at Ohio State. He's got guys that can man up. They can go 3 and 4 across the board and not have a problem matching up with the best teams in college football. So no, I think you'll definitely see more pressure, and that's a tactical decision that he's made. He's announced as much. The jack position, yeah, uh, I don't know if it was personnel or how they ran it or whatever, but I think you'll just see more traditional defense with more blitzing. And what was the last question?
The last question is any news on any portal players we are in
Yeah,
on?
yeah. It's just not. This has not been the wild, crazy portal. I remember when Hayes Fawcett put out that tweet, and things. Oh, get ready. There's names. It's just unbelievable. And I said at the time, I'm like, that's just clickbait. That's just he's not holding things, but it's just clickbait, and it turned out to be just clickbait because this has been probably a way less active portal season than any of us expected. So certainly it's been the opposite of big, crazy, big names in the portal. There's been virtually no big names in the portal. So I'm not sure what all the hubbub was about on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And real quick, like just when we talk about pressures and simulated pressures, I got a quick little whiteboard here that I can use to kind of explain. So a simulated pressure is something where you've got guys that, a regular pressure is usually a 6-man blitz. So if you bring, if you go, excuse me, if you go here, 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 and then you do like a cross dog in the middle or something like that, that is a regular pressure. If you go a simulated pressure, that usually means that these guys are dropping out and you're only bringing 4. So you'd have him loop out, you'd have him loop out, you'd have him hit it here, him hit it here, or they could cross or do something like that. So something that I know that Ohio State is studying right now is they really got into the simulated pressure thing last year. That's something that Georgia really ran a ton of 2 years ago. But the problem is when you run a simulated pressure, which ends up being just a 4-man blitz, is that eventually teams start calling your bluff and they'll say, well, it's just a simulated pressure. Don't even account for the defensive ends that drop every time. So eventually you get back into this rhythm where you have to start bringing 6 guys. You have to, it's kind of like if you bluff in poker every single time and eventually they figure out that you're bluffing. It doesn't make you any better. And they're not going to honor. Eventually, it's the same principle as when C.J. Stroud or Kyle McCord, when we run read option action and the quarterback never keeps the ball. Eventually, the teams stop honoring the quarterback and they just go kill the running back every time. And that happened last year where they just say, "Hey, forget the quarterback because he never keeps the ball." So eventually, if you're not going to keep a defense honest, then they're not going to be honest, and they're going to crash down and they're going to kill our running back. So I think what they're doing defensively is going to be really good. I think that they're really going to heat them up. They were cooking our offense this year in spring, a couple weeks ago in practice with some of the pressure looks they were giving. So again, it didn't make our offense look great, but I can't wait to see them unleash that on every other team in the country. I think it's going to be fantastic. Happy 2014. Thank you for the 20. Josh McDaniels is not a good hire. Coach Brady did not develop him. Did nothing with Jimmy G. Too many voices in the QB room. Will likely never be an NFL head coach again. Well, that makes 3 of us. At least me, Josh, and Nevada will never be coaches again. Love the show. Appreciate you, my man. I don't know what kind of a voice Josh will have if you're not in an authoritarian role where you're not the head coach, you're not the coordinator. Chip Kelly is the de facto quarterbacks coach. I don't think Josh is going to have a humongous role, but I think he will help. And again, like when you're an analyst, and you get a guy like Josh McDaniels, I don't think it ever hurts anything. I think it just kind of it adds some cachet and another sounding board in the offensive staff room, as opposed to it just being, Josh isn't the quarterback's coach. He's not the offensive coordinator. He's not the head coach. He's basically one rank above being a graduate assistant. So that means he's the second guy up on the totem pole. And he's not going to be asked to do a lot. I mean, he'll probably make $200,000, which is a lot of money. But in coaching, that's bottom of the totem pole money. And I think Josh is a guy that's going to be, he'll be an asset. I think he can help with game planning. I think he'll help with scheming. breakdowns, that kind of thing. And again, this is just to keep his iron in the fire for another year until the next coaching cycle goes around. Again, that's the thing with coaching is like, once all the jobs are filled, it's either you sit out for a year, which I think in general is disastrous because once you sit out for a year, it's kind of like you become old hat. You kind of become a guy that's kind of out of the gig, or you can stick it in at Ohio State, be an analyst, and then, when the next cycle comes along, if one of your friends gets a job, then they can hire you to be OC or a quarterback's coach. So it's like Cliff Kingsbury last year. He sat out. He was, I think, helping out with SC a little bit, and now he's the offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins. So it's better to keep your hat in the game and stay in the game and study in the game than it is to head to Florida and move to Naples and play shuffleboard all day. So I see what he's doing here, and I think he'll be an asset. But I don't think he has like a huge voice in the program. But I think he'll have a helpful voice. Nevada, your thoughts on Happy 2014 says Josh McDaniels is not a good hire. Coach Tom Brady did not develop him, did nothing with Jimmy Garoppolo. Too many voices in the QB room, will likely never be an NFL head coach again. Love the show. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I just disagree. I mean, I just fundamentally disagree. I mean, I understand the take. That's not, you're not the only person that feels that way. I just don't agree with it. I think that especially in a quarterback room where you're trying to develop 5 guys right now, to have another guy that's an experienced interactor with, what you want to call him, a quarterback guru, quarterback coach, quarterback whatever, to have another guy there to be able to do that in such a crowded quarterback room, I think it's going to be gratefully beneficial should it happen. Again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves in terms of whether it happens or not. But if it happens, I'm going to be excited about it. But I respect that you have a different opinion on it. But I do think you'll be super beneficial to the QBs.
I totally agree. I think it's going to be fantastic. Well, Nevada, I think we can wrap this show. Any final thoughts?
No, just great show. Thank you guys. As you mentioned earlier, if you want to join us at BuckeyeScoop.com, we have just a unbelievable message board and community that goes on the other 23 hours a day when we're not podcasting. And also, if you want to do us a huge favor, leave us a like. Hit that little thumbs up there. That really helps other people find the show, helps get in the algorithm, and helps other Ohio State fans that might like the show have it recommended on their feed. So if you can do us that big favor, leave us a like for the show, and appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Thank you guys so much. Again, it was a pleasure having you guys. It's great for you guys to be here. Great to have you guys here. It's also great to be here. Excited. Another great show. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Chat was lit. All because of you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, especially to Akeem and Devin and Kim for moderating it. Thank you guys for all that you guys all do. With that being said, as always, I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Appreciate all that you guys do each and every day on this show. In the chat and in the comments, let me know, what do you think of Josh McDaniels if he gets hired? Will he benefit our program? I think he will, but I'd love to hear your comments on that. And as always, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Appreciate you guys each and every night that you guys kick it with us. Again, we're going 7 again tomorrow. So we look forward to seeing you then. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Skip family. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.